Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Amy. I go by Fiber Arts Amy here and on Instagram. I'm doing something a little bit different today. Now, assuming all has gone as planned, I have uploaded a floss tube in the last couple of days. Technically, I haven't filmed yet. But this video is going to be all about yarn and fiber. Most of you, if you've been around here for a while, you know that I love fiber, right? I'm not just a cross stitcher and a quilter, but I also love to knit. I do crochet some, but mostly a knitter. I'm a spinner. I love taking a raw sheep's fleece and processing it. I tend to prefer combing to carding, but anyway, I love all things sheep. So this video is going to be a little bit of an introduction to like my fiber world. And I'm going to approach these videos a lot like I do floss tube. I'm just going to talk to you guys about like what's going on in my yarn life. I don't know how often I'm going to do a video that's centered on wool and yarn, but it'll happen sometimes. I've had a lot of requests for it. And if I am going to be adding, so the big spoiler, I am going to be adding yarn to my shop. Again, if you guys know me, you know I opened Oak Crown Studios almost exactly a year ago, and in September of 2023, and it's going great. I apologize for my dog and the barking. I'm really enjoying it. It's challenging but wonderful and super inspiring. It brings me so much inspiration. Around this time of the year, it really hit me hard in like mid-August when we had a brief cool down. I start feeling all the like fibery vibes, and I start getting all my knitting out, and I just go in deep. The anticipation even of the turning weather just gets me in a very yarny mood. So I'm going to share what I've been working on today. Today I'm going to share what I've been working on most recently. I am not the most prolific knitter. Some of you won't be surprised to hear I am a more prolific starter than I am a finisher. Everything gets finished eventually. It can take a while. But I'll show you some things that I'm working on or have been working on. And then I'll talk about how yarn is going to be coming into my shop. By the time this video goes live, which I'm hoping will be later this week, today is September 10th. By the time this video goes live, I will have a listing for hand-dyed yarn in my shop, and I will explain that more towards the end. Okay, so first let me just talk about yarn. I'm very proud of myself. Okay, so my husband. Okay, so my most recent finished object, that's so funny, are these like house socks. I'm laughing because my husband does a lot of serging for me, and there ends up being like little bits of threads of cross-stitch fabric all over the floor. Look at the bottom of my husband's house socks. Oh, I love my husband so much. He's been wearing them. He loves them. He's adorable. Okay, so anyway, I made him a pair of these socks, and I brought up my Rivalry. Oh, other big news in the yarn world. I can feel my enthusiasm like coming on as I'm starting to talk to you guys. I was gonna apologize because I was planning on filming this video all day. It's evening right now. But I started to get a migraine, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. But I was like, nope, I took some medicine. I'm like, I'm gonna try. But like once I start talking to you guys, I just get so excited. Okay, so one of my finds this summer was Fiber Tales. So Fiber Tales podcast, and I'll link her below. She's Danish. She's a designer. I'm so sorry about my dog. I don't know what the problem is. There's probably an Amazon delivery guy on the road. That's probably, I hope you guys can still hear me. I've bought a whole bunch of her patterns. She ran a sale not too long ago for some of her patterns, and I bought several then. But these are her Lumi Socks. Oh my God, my dog needs to stop. I'm just gonna show you the Rivalry page. Oh, the news I was trying to say. Sorry, I didn't mean to. So for years, let's talk about Rivalry for a minute. Nope, I just clicked on the wrong socks. I'm showing you the wrong socks. For years, okay, Lumi Socks. That's what I knitted my husband. For years, I have been Maddie on Rivalry, Mattee. Rivalry is so huge, I find it unlikely that any of you would have like known me as Maddie on Rivalry. But I did go in a few days ago, I've been thinking about it for a while, and I changed my Rivalry name to Fiber Arts Amy. It seemed to make more sense. Like, you guys all know me. I'm assuming if you're here, it's because you've watched some of my other videos. You guys know me as Fiber Arts Amy. Anyway. And the reason it was Maddie was because it was like a gaming name from playing World of Warcraft. Obviously, my name is not Maddie or has like anything to do with, it's a long story. Anyway, I changed my name to Fiber Arts Amy. I'm not super active on Rivalry. I'm a voracious reader of the forums, but I don't post a lot. And I don't do projects. I feel like I should try to be better about that, especially things that I knit in my own yarn. But you won't find like a bunch of great project pages there. I only make a project page if like I needed to for something. Anyway, I'm Fiber Arts Amy there. I think I'm most well known on Rivalry in the Row and Love group, which has been very quiet in recent years. But I am a huge fan of Rowan Yarns. I know Rowan has changed a lot over the years, but I've been an administrator and moderator on the Row and Love board for many years now. I think almost as long as my 12-year-old's been alive. Wow. Holy moly. But again, I was doing that as Maddie, and I'm the same person. I've just changed my name now there to Fiber Arts Amy, so it'll match. But yeah, if any of you are on the Row and Love board, I was asked to help out back when things sometimes would get things would get like dramatic they can get really dramatic on the boards. Anyway, okay, so back to my Lumi Socks. They're by, like I said, Fiber Tales. I love her stuff. Her name is Lerka. I might be pronouncing that wrong, and I apologize if I am. I don't know Danish. So these were a great learning experience. I'm not a prolific sock knitter by any stretch of the imagination. This was a great experience. My husband is more of a house sock guy than a like sock in his shoe kind of guy, which suits me fine because he's knit up so much faster. So this one I did first, and it's a little too small, which I could tear back, but it's not a rip back. It's not so small that I feel like I need to. It's just like, oh, I wish there was like a couple more rows in there. And I definitely misinterpreted the pattern in a couple of places. So I asked my husband, I was like, do you want your second sock to be better, or do you want it to match the first one that I messed up? He said, yeah, make it better. So second sock's a little bit bigger, but he loves these, and I am in the middle of knitting one for myself. Mine, my husband doesn't have huge feet. Like, they're bigger than mine, but not like by a ton. So I'm just knitting mine in the reverse with white here and gray trim. And I'm going to make the braid thicker because I messed up and didn't do that properly. But anyway, I'm really excited. I'm really excited about how these socks turned out. I think I've shown them before too, but they're just soft. They're in Cascade Eco Plus, and I love them. Another thing I've been working on. Oh my God. Okay, so this, I believe, is a 2-year-old whip. I think it could be 3. I'm gonna go with 2. So I bought a couple years ago, Jimmy Bean's Wool did an advent box with a shawl pattern. It had 16 mini skeins, and it's called the Festive Shawl, Festive Wrap. I have the instructions right here. Festive Wrap, and you can find that on Rivalry too, I think, if you want it. You're basically supposed to knit this whole thing in a month. I mean, some of you might, maybe people who don't also cross stitch and stuff, maybe can do that. There was no way that was going to happen, but I was going to try so hard. I didn't even come close to making it. And it looks awful right now because it's not blocked at all. But it has been fun to do. And I don't think there's so each mini skein is like, there's only 3 patterns. There's a slip stitch kind, a wavy lace kind, and a heart lace. Let me see if I can show you them. I don't have my glasses on. See the heart there, kind of? Heart. I messed up almost every one of these. But I kind of attacked this. I don't have tons of lace knitting experience. I'm more of a cable. I love cables and texture. I also like lace, but I find it much harder to follow like a pattern. I find it much harder to read my knitting in a lace pattern. That might have something to do with having 3 kids running around, although they're getting older, so things are getting easier. Anyway, I took this as like basically a huge like learning experience. Like, let's try it. Like, this will be, it's the same 3 patterns repeated, right? I actually think that the last heart row I did doesn't have mistakes in it. I say that, but then I started this, so I'm on the very last stripe now. And the stitch count is wrong. So I got through that heart pattern thinking I'd done it all correctly, but then my stitch count is wrong. But I don't know. I'm adapting it and it's fine, and it's the last stripe. We're gonna be fine. I think my hearts look great. If any of you spot the error, if there is one that I made, don't tell me. I'm fine with how my shawl looks. I obviously have a lot of weaving in I still need to do. So I do a lot of walking, even in relatively cold temperatures in the winter. And I hate scarves, but I have found that something like this that I can just wrap around, and I usually wear a hat, something that's really wide and I can snuggle down in it and tuck it down in my coat. I mean, I use crescent shape and triangular shape shawls for that too, is perfect. And this is super soft, and it's a single, but it's just gonna be used as a shawl, so I don't have to worry as much about its wear. Anyway, I'm very excited to be almost done with this, and I'm hoping to be done with it in the next day or two because I want it off my to-do list. I have a sweater I want to knit for my daughter. And knitting for my kids is always tricky because it can take me years to finish something. And if I don't finish it in time before she grows out of it, I'll have to save it for maybe a future grandchild. I want to show you a couple things that I have purchased relatively recently. One of them, so I have 3 skeins here. So this is from Tippy Yarns, and I've ordered from them before. This is a color called Wuthering Heights, and I am a huge Bronte fan. All 3 sisters went through a years-long Bronte phase in my youth, and this color is just stunning. So anyway, this is on a Blue Face Leicester base. It's superwash. Unfortunately, I'll talk about the whole superwash thing. I think she only does superwash bases. But it's Blue Face Leicester, superwash Blue Face Leicester in nylon, 4-ply, and I've got 3 skeins, and I will probably do a shawl with it, is what I'm thinking. A sweater quantity for me is a heck lot more than 3 skeins. I'm usually in the extra large or double XL size range. Hey, Logie. You might hear my kids walking around a little bit. I'm also going to try not to make this take too long because I'm like fitting this in while my kid's at flute and I need to be done in time to do her tuck in. Okay. Oh, and I wanted to show this. Okay. So watching the Fiber Tales podcast is how I found out about these people. This is the Blue Rabbit House. Some of her artwork. She's on Etsy. You may hear my son cooking, but that's okay. He's trying to be quiet. Lerga. Okay, so here's the thing. I have no illusions that Lerga is going to watch this because YouTube's way too big and she's way too busy, and I'm sure has no idea who I am and may never know who I am. But I don't know Danish. And her name has a K in it. But when she pronounces her name, it sounds more like a G sound to me. But it's a K. And so I don't know Lerga. So like, what? I don't know. I'm a chemist, not a language person, but I'm trying because I don't want to get somebody's name wrong. Anyway, Lerga had ordered from, she had a bag from this bag maker. And they were so beautiful. And I needed to try it out. So I ordered this one. I have a thing for frogs. Just FYI. Look at this frog with this little watering can and those mushrooms. He's got a little mushroom house. Is that not adorable? And those flowers. My son says it's adorable. You probably can hear him. Isn't that beautiful? And it's not like the fabric's been printed with her artwork, but it's been printed well, like really well. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I'm impressed. These were on sale also here recently. When Lerga showed hers, I of course immediately went to check out the shop, and they happened to be on pretty good sale. So I got a couple. So it's got like a leather drawstring. And then, so this was the artwork that was on Lerga's bag, which is just adorable. And again, like the printing's nice. So this is a needle case. I'm kind of obsessed with organization. I have a lot of sets of needles, and I almost always replace the case that needle sets come with. I'm pretty excited about this and can't wait to give it, I know which needles I think I'm going to move into it. It's got a little zip pouch, which is perfect. I'm a big fan. These just came today. I haven't gotten a chance to really use them yet, but I'm excited to. And then I couldn't resist. Check out that sheet with its flowers. And this one's got a, I have another bag that's like this style, that's really light with like a thin shoulder strap. So I can like knit out of it. I'm a big fan of that. And I do a lot of my knitting ends up being travel knitting. I find knitting to be my hobby that's easiest to do on the go. Easiest to see without readers. I am at the point, like if I'm doing lace or like it's a fuzzy yarn or really dark yarn, there's certain things I do need to wear readers for, or it's more comfortable to wear readers to knit, and sometimes I have to wear readers to see the pattern. But even so, I find I have a lot of travel knitting projects, and I'm excited to give this bag a try. I think it's beautiful. Okay, so let's talk about yarn in my shop. Okay. I don't even know where to begin. I tend to be very thoughtful about how I do things. I don't mean that to say that I'm right. Oh, look at the dye. I've been working my butt off, and I was just downstairs dyeing more fabrics for the retreat in October. So yeah, need a shower. Anyway, I tend to be really thoughtful, think a lot, maybe even overthink about how and why I do things. And I was that way with the cross stitch, like, so for the cross stitch fabric, right? And the quilting fabric that I'm dyeing. Trying to decide what fabric I want to carry, what I want my fabric to look like. And I get a lot of emails and a lot of messages saying, well, why don't you do it this way? Well, why don't you offer that? And I'm always happy to like try to come up with a new color for people if you're looking for something in particular. But what I'm trying to get at is that I don't want to just do what everyone else is doing. If that makes sense. I don't see the point in that. I actually have some relatively neutral cross-stitch fabric that's going to be coming out soon, but just obvious example, right? I don't feel the need to hurry up to dye a dozen different colors of beige. I know that's really popular right now, that there's a lot of sampler stitchers out there, but there's also a lot of hand-dyed fabric manufacturers out there that do a dozen different colors of beige and do it well, or do it well. They're beautiful. I always feel the need to wash their fabric before I'm willing to commit to the well part, but not the point, right? So anyway, I love dyeing everything, like all the things. So I'm already dyeing quilt fabric, and I'm already dyeing cross-stitch fabric, and I'm already dyeing floss. I haven't like done my announcement video yet, but I do have my cross-stitch fabric. Although if I film the floss tube, I think I'm gonna film, you will already know about the floss. But anyway, I dye floss, which is actually wool, like lace weight wool and silk yarn fiber that you can use for embroidery and cross stitch. Anyway, I do all those things, and I've been dyeing yarn for myself for years. I actually think I started dyeing yarn before I started dyeing anything else. 12, 15 years ago, maybe more. My son has come in here and he's going to distract me. I'm going to try to ignore him. No, he's going to leave now. This is very hard to do when someone's sitting there watching you. I know. It's okay. You can listen. You can listen. Okay. Anyway, yarns. You totally lost my train of thought. Okay. So here's the thing. So for cross-stitch and quilting fabric, right? I very much dye the things I want to stitch on. I mean, that's it. I dye what I want to stitch with. And I could go on for hours about like how I do it and using good materials and using the process you're supposed to and all that. But at the end of the day, I'm dyeing what I want to stitch with. And so when it comes to knitting, if I'm gonna add yarn to my shop, which I wanted to do since day one, but I wanted to make sure I did it in a way that was right for me and right for what I want to do with Oak Crown Studios. So let me talk a little bit about yarn and my yarn preferences, because I'm gonna add yarn to my shop. I have added yarn to my shop. I'll link it below. But I want to add yarn I want to knit with. And I don't want to just do it the way 100 other companies do it. There are a million hand dyers out there, and really good hand dyers. One thing about dyeing protein fibers, so wool, silk, that sort of thing, which is typically not what you're dyeing for cross-stitch and quilting. That's usually cotton and linen, which are cellulose fibers. They come from plants. Dyeing protein fibers is a lot easier. Easier meaning, well, easier. It doesn't take, if you're not doing natural dyes, it doesn't, it's just easier. It's not quite as complicated. It's a lot easier to make things color fast. Now yarns still bleed sometimes. Believe me, they do. But generally speaking, it's easier. It's a much simpler process. Anyway, I am a wool-loving person. I love supernatural woodsy fibers. Now, I also happen to love soft fibers, but I'm also happy with fibers that aren't as soft. Fibers that can, I just feel like everything kind of has its use. So something that's scratchier, I'm going to use for something else, something outerwear. Something that's softer, I'll use more for like next to skin. I would say I'm a moderately sensitive, itchy wool kind of person, right? Some people are super sensitive and need only like the softest merino and alpaca. Some people can wear Gotland next to their skin and they're totally fine. I'd say I'm somewhere in the middle. My son's peeking around the corner at me now, thinking I'm just gonna be okay and not make me nervous. Anyway, I love, so I know some people, their terminology is they would call me a yarn snob. I don't like that terminology because I'm not going to judge anyone else for their yarn choices. But for me, my yarn choices are, I like natural fibers. Anything from scratchy to super soft, I'll find a use for, as natural and as close to its source as possible. So I love wool yarns. Love them. Blue Face Leicester is my favorite. I wish this wasn't superwash. But again, I couldn't resist, right? And again, I'm not going to judge anybody else for their fiber choices, but I go with non-superwash whenever I can. I just couldn't resist the color and the name. And I have some other of her yarns that I'm using for I'm swatching right now for an Andrea Mowry sweater for her tessellated cardigan. I should have brought that down, but I didn't. Next video. Anyway, I am a natural yarn, non-superwash, natural fiber person. It's just who I am. And you know what? It's kind of hard to find those from hand dyers. I haven't collected the data, but I am willing to bet that the vast majority of hand-dyed yarns and fibers that are out there are superwash. It is relatively difficult to find dyers who dye on any non-superwash bases, let alone a lot of non-superwash bases. I actually have spent the last several months trying out and researching different bases and different wholesalers and different places I can get them from. I should say, I feel like, at least from what I've found, there seem to be a lot more hand dyers who use non-superwash bases in Europe. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think so. Anyway, I finally found a wholesaler and I finally dyed the yarns and like used them because I wasn't going to put something in my shop that I hadn't used. And I'm in love. So for right now, I'm going to put up 2 different bases in my shop. There's going to be a Farm 4-ply and a Farm DK. So these are, and it's on my phone, which I'm using to record, so now I can't remember. I know what breed of sheep it's from. So this yarn that I'm going to be dyeing, and I'll show you guys some dyed examples here in a minute. And they don't really look different on the camera, but here's the fingering and here's the DK. Sorry, I just cut my finger. So these are the 2 bases I've put up in the shop. And depending on how this goes, I may add more bases in the future. But for right now, I'm starting with these 2. The reason why I'm calling them Farm 4-ply and Farm DK is because these wools, they're from the UK. They are 100% wool and they are farm traceable. That means that when the wholesaler sends me the yarn, they also send me information on what farms the wool came from. Now it is a bunch of farms. It's about a dozen farms. And it's different farms. Well, some different farms that this came from than that this came from. And I love that. That is the kind of thing that I eat up. I want to know where my wool came from. It smells sheepy. And I would say this is like a medium soft wool. Like it's not merino, but it's also not scratchy at all. Like it's not at all scratchy. This is like middle of the road kind of. So, I mean, I would definitely use this for like hats and socks and shawls and things. If I did a sweater in this, I would probably wear something under it. But again, if this goes well, I'm going to add some other and softer fibers. Also, I feel like we're really yellow right now. The light, I feel like the light just changed. Bear with me a minute. We are like losing light. Okay, the light's gonna... Oh. That's a little bit better, maybe? Okay, I apologize. The light is horrible. I don't even have something white to show next to this. Anyway, that's just really gonna bother me. Because I swear the bare yarn is not... Okay, well, it's yellower than the white piece of paper, but it's not as yellow as it's showing. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll show you what it looks like dyed in a minute. These are the two yarns I'm going to put up in the shop to keep things manageable, because I've got a lot going on with dyeing cross-stitch fabric right now. I feel like I'm horribly behind. Of course, it's not behind, right? It's dye to order. It takes the amount of time it takes, but it's taking longer than I would like to get some of the cross-stitch orders out. And of course, I'm super busy getting things ready for the retreat. So introducing this, I want to keep it manageable. So what I've put in the shop is a club, is a monthly yarn of the month club, basically, where you're getting a mystery skein or more if you want more each month. And I would also say that for anyone who joins the club, if you decide you really love a colorway and you want more of that sort of color, dye lots can vary, but you can always contact me. I happily dye you more. But for right now, it's a club. It's club membership, mystery skein a month, or multiple skeins, whatever you want, either fingering or DK. I'm starting small with this because I don't want to overnight end up overloading myself and not be able to meet my obligations. So those are the two bases I'm offering. So I brought some yarns to show you guys. I just wanted to show you an example of sort of what I dye, or what my dyeing looks like. Because different dyers have different styles. And I would say for me, at least part of it, if I had to describe it, would be variety, which is also what I would say for my cross-stitch fabrics. You're not going to find just one thing in my shop or in my fabric of the month. There's a lot of different styles. There's a lot of different colors. There's lights, there's darks, there's in-betweens. There's kind of a little bit of everything, and a lot of variety, a lot of trying different things. And that's because I like to try different things. And I get in different moods. So I just brought some examples of some of the dyeing that I've done. So this is, and the color's not going to be great. So this is for a sweater. This is actually a yak blend. It's cashmere, yak, and merino, if I remember correctly. And this is the sort of, so if I add bases to my shop, this is the sort of thing I would add. It's so luxurious. I love it. And this is like next to skin, squishy, soft. Oh, I absolutely love it. It's a fingering weight. I just dyed this here this past weekend, and I love it. And I dyed a sweater quantity for myself for specific. I do a lot of dyeing for specific projects for me. I just do. That's what I do. I usually have something in mind. Not always, but usually when I go to dye some yarns. And I've learned a lot, I feel like, over the years, I'm sure many of you, if you're knitters, are aware of this, right? That just because yarns look good in a skein does not mean they're going to look good knit up. And everybody's going to have like a different idea of what counts as like looking good knit up, right? But I've definitely developed my own ideas about things that sometimes maybe look really great in a skein, but maybe don't make the nicest sweater. Oh, this is so, I wish you guys could feel this. So I also am a huge fan of drape, especially on my body, but I think a lot of people's bodies. Bodies often look good with some drape, like with some fabric, like hanging, like almost like I think of drape almost as like heavier sort of on the body. Like they have some heft to them, right? Like some body. And I think this yarn is gonna give me some of that. So I'm really excited about this. I have nowhere to put the things that I'm showing you. Another thing, I'm gonna pull Rivalry back out and the Fiber Tales page. So she has a shawl. Oh, it's not even on here. I'm not gonna be able to show you. Yes, I can. It's in this book. It's not on her page yet. So, well, I'm not going to try to pull it out because it's going to take too long. But, so Fiber Tales, she designed a shawl pattern that's in the Lina, I think is how she pronounces it, or Lane, L-A-I-N-E. Excuse me. 52 Weeks of Shawls book. It's knit with 3 colors. Hers is like a deep blue, a gray, and like a natural, like a white. So I went about, and this is on my Farm 4-ply base that I'm offering. I specifically went about trying to dye 3 different colors to knit this shawl out of. And you might be able to tell, like there's, when you dye, like look at how much the skein plumps up. Look at that. Like it looks so much, like the fiber looks so much different. It's just plumped up so much once you get the spinning wheels out of it. Anyway, I wanted to do a different type of colorway, and I wanted to dye my own instead of buying the yarn for it. So this is what I've come up with. In real life, there's more difference between this shade and this shade. So I've got like a light pinky lavender, like a medium, and a dark, really dark, like purpley berry color. I also dyed this skein. But this is more muted. They're all muted shades, but this one is more muted than this one, and I want it a little bit brighter. I'm gonna hang on to this. I'm gonna knit the shawl with these, and then I will have leftovers, and then I might combine that. I'm gonna keep them all together to do something else. We'll see how much I have left. Mitts, hats, maybe both. We'll see. All right, let me see if I can. So these skeins, again, I'm trying to help you get an idea of what I dye, right? The first skeins I showed you, like the blue and tan, those are 2 different colors, but colors I also think are gonna look good once it's knitted up into a swatch, and I will try to get some swatches and project pictures going soon. These are, the way I dye these is they have multiple colors layered on top of each other. And that gives you a much more subtle variation, but some real depth to the color that you don't get from just a solid dye that you get from like a manufacturing facility. So there's still some depth to the color with these, and it's actually one of my preferred or even favorite dyeing techniques. I need to hurry because my daughter's gonna be home. These are some yarns that are caked up. So here's another one that so this, again, this isn't what it looked like in the skein. This is caked up. You can see that variation there. This is a merino single. This is what it can look like in a cake. So a hank like this, you see what sort of variation you see, can end up looking like this in the hank, or in the cake, in terms of like the variegation. Because I use the same technique for this, where I used multiple dyes, like layering one on top of another. It's also more time consuming because it's basically going through the dye bath twice. But I love the effect that it gives. It's very soft, it's very subtle, and it kind of gives some depth and some interest without becoming so busy that maybe you're like, it looked better in the hank. So that's the sort of thing I do. Here's another cake. I'm gonna be making hats out of these. I have this like favorite hat pattern that I do a lot of. This looked like the blue and tan hank to begin with. That's not the same yarn. This was a dark blue and a deep green. I also think seeing it in a cake like this gives you a little bit of a better idea of what it's gonna actually look like knit up compared to in the hank, because in the hank there was like, it was mostly blue with some green. But then that of course gets all like intertangled with each other when you knit it. And so that's why I say I think this gives a little bit of a better representation of what it looks like knit up. But I'm happy with this, especially for the hat that I have planned. So that's another sort of thing. Now, I'm not promising I'm going to do natural dyeing for my club, but I might. I've got a really awesome Indigo Vat going right now. And I'm going to use this to, so this is a bulky yarn. Again, it's not one of the bases that I'm selling, but this is indigo dyed. I dyed it my Indigo Vat. There's pictures of it on my Instagram. I'm going to knit the Oxbow cardigan from, or that's what I'm planning to knit from Drea Renate Knits with this. And I'm very excited. It's a lot. But I got 6 skeins of this dyed in indigo. So indigo, I've dyed indigo a lot, both yarn and fabric. My opinion is that indigo and yarn go best together when you have very light indigo dyeing. So this was one very quick dip. So it's kind of a lot of variegation, which I don't mind at all. It's all shades of blue. Indigo is hard to wash out, and it crocks horribly. I mean, it rubs off on your hands even from dry yarn. So the more times I dip, or the longer I dip, the more there is to have to rinse out and worry about crocking. If I decide to do indigo dyeing for the club, it's going to be relatively light indigo for ease of use. My personal opinion, if you want a dark blue, don't do indigo unless you're doing indigo for like another reason, right? So these are some slightly crazier skeins that I dyed. Well, this one's not as crazy. Whoop, just came undone. So this is silk mohair, like Kid Silk Haze type yarn. I love Kid Silk Haze. These mohair yarns, I love them. I know some people hate them. I know some people hate knitting with them. This was high on my, if this goes well and people want my yarn, people say they want my yarn, we'll see if y'all buy it. It's high on my list to add a base like this to my shop because it's just so yummy. I love it so much. I could knit everything out of it. So this is like an earthy brown and like a hunter green. It's coming across okay. This isn't quite as golden as it looks in the screen. Anyway, so these are hanks similar to the blue and tan I showed at the beginning. Basically 2-ish different colors, you know, dyed together, but I think the colors again are going to play well with each other and look good knitted up. Definitely with showing variegation, but oh, my daughter's home. I gotta really hurry up. Showing variegation, but not in a way that looks good. And then, and I have a couple sweaters planned for these. And I clearly need to work on my hand quilting. Okay, this in camera, the Maddie, I'll be with you in just a minute, sweetie. Okay? Tuck my daughter in. The contrast between these two colors is coming across as more on screen than in real life. But I also think with these yarns, you can play with a little more contrast and still have it look nice knitted up because of the fuzziness. The colors blend into each other more in the knitted item. So again, you can totally disagree with me, but you might be seeing how like thoughtful I am about these things. I really think them through. Anyway, I'm really excited. I have a sweater planned for this, and I can't decide which project to start first between them. Sorry about the crinkling, the Kid Silk Haze, the like pink and purple, the berry kind of version, or the like woodsy version, because they're both beautiful. I've definitely been in like a color work kind of mood lately. Less like Fair Isle and more like striping kind of color work. I've been having a ton of fun coming up with colors to use together. So this skein actually dyed just for fun. This is a fingering weight merino. It's kind of a chartreuse color, which I've kind of been in love with lately. This is the same kind of like one color dyed on top of another, which is kind of hard to see in camera. But in the hank or knitted up, it gives this lovely like slight variation in like texture to the stitches that I really like. So I dyed this, and then these are alpaca. These are alpaca. And these are going to go into a striped shawl. So there's the main color. And again, these were also all dyed with that like one color on top of another situation. And so you end up with this like low variegation, and like in person you can like see the layers of the color. I think it's really beautiful. Okay, so that's the big news. I just wanted to give you guys like an idea of, so if you do decide to sign up for the club, you can pick your base. You can, if you want more than one skein, you just order it multiple times. It's an automatic charge once a month. Gets charged 1 month in advance, just like my cross stitch fabric club. So any chart, like if a charge is, or if you place an order in September, you get it in October. If you place it in October, you get it in November. So 1 month in advance. And that's just an idea of the sorts of things you can expect if you decide to sign up for the club. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm super excited about it. I know some of you have been waiting for it, and so I hope a lot of you are really excited about it too. I'm not going to chat because I got to go tuck a little girl in. But I hope you guys are having tons of fun stitchy time and enjoying the change in the weather, and hopefully I'll talk to you here soon. Bye.